People often are confused or have questions about the process of actually becoming a Christian, of actually coming to faith. And Paul here in this chapter has actually laid that out for us and made it quite simple for us. He says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. When Paul talks about the heart, he's talking about basically an inner conviction. He's not talking about the the blood pump that sits in the center of your chest there. He's talking in spiritual terms, that actually there is an inner conviction inside of us that causes us to believe that Jesus is Lord, that God raised him from the dead, and that he is the one who will save us, that we are convinced of that. It's not to do with your ability, anything that you are able to do or to make happen. It's nothing to do with that. You are saved because of who Jesus is and because you have put your faith in him. That there inside of you is a belief that Jesus is who he says he is, that he has done what the Bible says he has done, that God has raised him from the dead and that he is now seated with the Father in heaven, that we believe all those things about Jesus, that there's a conviction in us. And sometimes, it's possible for us to waver in our faith when the pressure is on, when we face difficulties, when there are times of trouble. It's very easy to think that we have somehow lost our salvation, that we are no longer connected to God, that sometimes in the midst of difficulties it gets a little bit dark and we wonder if God still loves us. The answer to that, of course, is yes, God does still love you. Please stop worrying about that. That will never change. And that actually, if you still hold that belief, if you still believe that Jesus is Lord, if you still believe that he was raised by God from the dead, if you still trust him to save you, then everything is okay. And whatever it is that's going on around you, what matters is that conviction deep inside of you. And Paul also says this, he says, for with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. And I just want us to close this session with just a thought about the power of confession. So Paul is saying to us here that it's not just about something that happens inside of us, but it's about something that actually literally comes out of our mouths. It's a very important part of our baptism services that when somebody is baptized, they make a confession of faith. We ask them the question, what then is your faith? And the response to that is always, Jesus is Lord. And that confession is really important. Confession is a powerful thing. There are times when I find myself struggling a bit. I find life difficult for all sorts of different reasons, and I need to kind of strengthen myself in my faith and in my resolve. And one of the things that helps me consistently in that is to speak out what it is that needs to be spoken out. I sometimes need to make a bold confession. I sometimes need to speak into situations and speak, words of power into those situations. Jesus is Lord. There is nobody beside him, and he loves me with an everlasting love, and he's committed to my success. And whilst there might be hard times, in the end I will overcome because Jesus is with me and I'm following his word. And to speak things like that, to confess them, has a power in it that will build us up and strengthen us, and particularly strengthen our resolve to walk in his ways and do all the things that he calls us to. So confession is really important. It's important when we get saved that we confess what has happened to us, that we speak it out. And it's important as we continue through our journey with Jesus, that we are confessing, that we are using our mouths to speak out the truth about Jesus, the truth about the power of the gospel, the truth about God in our lives. And as we do that, we'll find ourselves strengthened and encouraged. So why not try that this week? Over these coming days, why not each day when you get up, take a moment to speak out the truth. Take a moment to reaffirm your faith, to make a confession. Take a moment to remind yourself, Jesus is Lord. and He is in charge. And if that's true, then everything is okay. That is true, so I'm okay. Why don't you try that this week and see if that helps, see if that strengthens you, see if that gives you some courage and helps you in your journey with Him. And I look forward to hearing a good report from you all as we continue in this journey together. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.